My brother tried to sell our family cottage to fund his crypto farm. I'm now the accidental owner of a 900-pound moose statue. Hi Reddit. So, I never thought I'd become the reluctant villain in a small-town drama. But here we are. I, 32F, live in Toronto but was raised in Muskoka, where our family owns a rustic, drafty, lakefront cottage built in the 1960s by my grandfather, who believed insulation was for city people. My brother Ben, 35M, is a character. He's that kind of guy who thinks every trip to the gas station is a networking opportunity and who once tried to sell NFTs of Tim Hortons donuts. Anyway, our dearly departed grandmother, bless her flannel-covered soul, left the cottage to both of us. Joint ownership. The plan was to keep it in the family. A peaceful place for canoeing, yelling at raccoons, and emotionally recharging with lake air and butter tarts. Ben, however, had other ideas. The setup. Earlier this spring, I get a text from Ben that says, "Need you to sign this property transfer thing. Crypto op. Once in a lifetime. Moon's guaranteed. We'll cut you in. Rocket money with wings." I say, "Not unless this crypto is called Grandma's Will Coin." Ben then drops this brilliant pitch. He wants to sell the cottage, market's hot, blah blah. Use the money to build a solar-powered crypto farm in a decommissioned curling rink, and promises I'll be set for life in 3 to 5 years. When I say no, he calls me a tradition hoarder and suggests I Google blockchain enlightenment. Fast forward a week later, and I get a call from the mayor's office because I am now, apparently, the registered sole owner of the cottage. Why? Because Ben tried to forge my signature, submitted it to the local notary, who, unfortunately, is also our childhood babysitter, and she immediately flagged it because Jessica dots her eyes with little hearts, not circles, you idiot. The moose twist. In retaliation for ruining his financial ascension, Ben drives up to the cottage in the middle of the night and drops off a 900-pound fiberglass moose statue on the front lawn. Where he got it, I have no idea. Why? As a warning of your stagnation, apparently. Now every canoeist on the lake refers to my property as Moose Lady's Cottage. Update 1. Ben showed up at our Canada Day barbecue and tried to sell fractional ownership of the moose. TikTok got involved. The mayor is monitoring the situation. Hello again from the cottage, where peace and serenity go to die. So, it's Canada Day, a time for fireworks, beer, and pretending you enjoy lawn darts. I host our traditional barbecue, invite a few neighbors, light a bonfire, and try not to think about the haunting fiberglass moose now looming over my lilac bushes like some kind of judgmental deity. Of course, Ben shows up uninvited, wearing a Canadian tuxedo, denim on denim, aviators, and a wide-brimmed hat that says, "Crypto is a mindset." He struts up, holding a clipboard, and announces, "Good evening, friends and future investors. I'd like to talk to you about fractional moose ownership." I immediately go inside to refill my drink with more rum and less tolerance. The pitch. Ben wants to turn the moose into an NFT-backed public asset. He names it maplestomp.f and claims that owning 0.5% of the moose entitles you to visit, photograph, or spiritually commune with it 1 day per year. His launch package includes a laminated membership card, a QR code taped to the moose's hind leg, and a free sticker that says, "I believe in the blockchain buck." My neighbor Gail, 72F, owns 4 kayaks and no patience. Asks, "Is this like a scam or just a cult?" Ben replies, "Yes." Then, the internet happened. My cousin's teenage daughter films the whole thing, posts it on TikTok with the caption, "Canada's Elon Muskoka is back at it again. Canada #MooseCoin #Cottage Crypto Crisis." Within 48 hours, the video hits 1.2 million views. Now people are duetting it, doing dramatic moose impressions, and debating whether Maple Stomp should run for town council. I got 3 emails from local craft breweries asking if they can sponsor the moose. Someone in Vancouver offered me $2,000 to 3D scan it for VR cottagecore experiences. And Ben? He's claiming this was all part of the plan. Bonus chaos. The mayor, yes, the actual mayor, emailed me with the subject line, "Concern. Unauthorized outdoor moose installation. Apparently, the town is reviewing local bylaws on non-permitted art structures exceeding 6 feet in height. They've asked me to submit a moose management plan within 14 days. What is a moose management plan? Update 2. The moose now has a fan club, a theme song, and a commemorative beer. Ben tried to NFT me. I retaliated by calling his ex. Hey Reddit. If you're new here, I'm the girl whose crypto brother dropped a 900-pound fiberglass moose on her lawn after she refused to sell the family cottage to fund his blockchain vision. And yes, things have gotten dumber since then. Let's begin with the obvious. Dear the Moose is now famous. After the viral TikTok, some genius from Winnipeg made a remix of Ben's pitch speech set to lo-fi beats. It's called Fractional Moose Ownership, Ben's Lament. And it slaps. I hate how catchy it is. Then, the local Muskoka brewery released a limited edition Moose IPA with a design featuring maple stomp in aviators holding a flag that says, Decentralize this. I bought a 6-pack out of spite. It's shockingly good. And yes, the Moose now has the fan club on Facebook, 1.4K members, the GoFundMe to install seasonal hats and scarves, an unofficial theme song submitted to CBC Radio. People have started taking selfies with it like it's the B-list cousin of the CN Tower. Bust in silhouette Ben tried to NFT me. During a cottage weekend brunch, read, passive-aggressive pancakes. Ben announces he's created a new crypto project called Cottage Core, Real People, Real Assets, and he has minted a non-fungible token of me without consent, using an AI-generated image of me holding a butter tart and glaring, titled, Jessica, the Gatekeeper of Generational Wealth, number 001. He listed it for 3.7 ETH, LOL, claiming it symbolizes resistance to innovation. My face is now being argued over in a Discord full of dudes named Stonk Ranger 99. Telephone, so I did what had to be done. I called his ex-girlfriend Ashley. Ashley is a yoga instructor, librarian, and, crucially, the only person Ben is afraid of. They dated in 2019. She dumped him because he tried to write off an Xbox as a mental health device on his taxes. Ashley drove up last weekend, took one look at the moose and said, so he's still spiraling, but now it's fiberglass? Within hours, she convinced Ben to take down the QR code from the moose's butt, issue a public apology on his Medium blog titled Decentralizing My Ego, temporarily suspend all plans to turn the fire pit into a DAO. She left with a 6-pack of Moose IPA and my eternal gratitude. Meanwhile, the town council has sent me official word. The moose has been reclassified as folk art of local significance, which means I can't remove it without a public hearing. But I am eligible for a $500 arts preservation grant. I have become the caretaker of Muskoka's weirdest landmark. Update 3. I received a cease and desist from a guy claiming spiritual authorship of the moose. A tour bus drove onto my dock. Ben tried to launch a dating app. Hello again, my loyal maple-scented chaos watchers. Last week, I made the critical mistake of thinking, well, at least it's calming down now. I was wrong. Let's dive in. Receipt the cease and desist. Yes. Really. So this envelope shows up. No stamp. Just hand-delivered to my screen door with a return address that literally says, DJ Decentralize, Toronto Metaverse Hybrid Office, Garage Studio. The letter inside, written in Comic Sans, not kidding, accuses me of the following. 1. Unlawful monopolization of an unlicensed symbolic entity. 2. Emotional interference with a culturally significant crypto art artifact. 3. Vibrational theft of artistic energy. Apparently, DJ Decentralize is a moose concept artist and claims he came up with the idea of fiberglass ungulates as decentralized icons in a Reddit post from 2021. I checked. He once said, "Moose are cool. NFTs should be more Canadian." That's the whole post. He's demanding 40% of moose-related monetization, a formal apology delivered on a live stream, and a guest spot on Ben's non-existent podcast, The Decentralized the tour bus incident. Thanks to the viral TikTok, now at 2.7 million views, a tour company in Sudbury started offering Muskoka Moose mystery tours. Long story short, a 35-seater drove down my gravel road, missed the turn, and ended up stuck half on, half off my dock. They were polite about it. Very Canadian. One woman gave me banana bread as an apology. A man in a Moose Tracks t-shirt said, "This place feels sacred, like Banff but more emotionally unstable." I spent 2 hours helping the driver reverse while Ben stood nearby giving unsolicited crypto advice to retirees. Heart with Arrow, the dating app. You're not ready for this. Ben has decided that Moosecoin needs a community. So he launches a beta version of a dating app called Mooser, where love is decentralized. It uses vibe-matching algorithms and offers prompts like, "What would you name our pet raccoon? Describe your ideal cottagecore partnership ecosystem. Would you co-own a canoe with a stranger?" It has 4 users. One is Ben. One is his burner account. One is my cousin trying to troll him. And the 4th is DJ Decentralize, who only lists vibes as his love language. Ben says I lack vision. I say he lacks friends. Balance scale and the government? This is not a drill. A woman from Heritage Canada emailed me to ask if I'd be open to preliminary folkloric designation for the moose as a living local legend. I responded, "It's not living and I'm not okay." She replied, "That's what makes it significant." Update 4. The moose now has its own wardrobe. Ben staged a decentralized festival. And my neighbor Gail is a revolutionary leader with a glue gun. Hi again, Reddit. To recap, my crypto brother Ben tried to sell our family cottage to fund a blockchain farm. I refused. He retaliated by dropping a 900 pounds fiberglass moose on my lawn, and the situation has since mutated into a small-scale civic mythology. Cool. Let's check in on the latest disasters. Yarn the moose has a wardrobe now. Remember my neighbor Gail, 72F, kayaks with malice? Well, after months of passive-aggressive eye contact with the moose, she snapped. I wake up last Tuesday to find the moose is fully dressed in the massive hand-knitted maple leaf sweater, a trapper hat, adult human-sized, duct-taped to one antler, the scarf that reads, "Winter is real, and so am I." There's also a note. "If this thing's staying, it's staying warm. Love, Gail." I posted it on Facebook. It went viral again. CBC interviewed her. She now has a knitting blog called Loops Before Blockchain. Someone sent her alpaca yarn from BC. I live in fear of what she'll do next. Probably mittens. Circus tent, the festival. Ben decided that since Mooser, the dating app, didn't take off, shocker, he needed to rebrand Moosecoin as a community lifestyle token. This led to the most cursed event I've ever witnessed. Moosefest, decentralized but delicious. He printed flyers. He built a pop-up stand from repurposed canoe paddles. He even rented a smoke machine which caught fire 8 minutes in and had to be extinguished with LaCroix. There were 3 tents, one for NFTs, one for kombucha, one for freethinking. A folk band that only played covers of the tragically hip in minor key. A one guy in a foam moose costume handing out white papers no one wanted. Attendance: 19 people. 11 were just lost hikers who stayed for the free jerky. Ben gave a speech that included the phrase, "We're not selling crypto. We're selling freedom via moose." Someone clapped. I think it was ironically. Cross Swords, the War Council. Later that week, I was invited to a strategic dialogue hosted by Gail, in her sunroom, over lemon squares. She's formed a community council with Trevor, 67, Snowplow Guy, hates Ben, Silent Carol, no one's sure if she's mute or just judgmental, and 2 teenagers who run the Cottage area's meme page. Their goal: protect the moose, contain Ben, reclaim the narrative. They're planning to apply for a Heritage Canada grant to turn the property into a living folk installation site, which would legally bar Ben from monetizing it. Gail brought a PowerPoint with animations of the moose spinning, Woozy Face and me, I have been contacted by a podcast called Moose and Consequences, a graphic novelist who wants to adapt the story into a YA adventure. A guy who offered to marry me in front of the moose for exposure. I'm considering applying for witness protection, or starting a TikTok cooking channel just to pivot my audience. Final update. The moose is now a legally recognized cultural landmark. Ben was exiled. Kind of. Gail might run for office. I'm free-ish. Well, Reddit. We've reached the end of this antlered odyssey. From fiberglass felony to full-blown folk icon, our humble lawn moose, affectionately known to the internet as Maple Stomp, has gone through more growth than Ben's failed crypto wallet. And now, as all good Canadian chaos must, it ends in passive-aggressive paperwork, a surprise will, and a small parade. Buckle up one last time. Receipt the council vote. After several community engagement sessions, read Cottage gossip circles with butter tarts, the Muskoka Lakes Town Council held a formal vote to determine the fate of the moose. Ben, dressed like a Bass Pro Shops magician, gave a 12-minute presentation with slides titled Decentralize Destiny and Fiber Flex to the Future. Gail countered by placing a hand-knitted moose plush on the podium and simply saying, "We don't need to tokenize it. We need to treasure it." She received a standing ovation. Ben received an official motion to cease presenting immediately. The vote passed 7-1 to declare the moose a cultural landmark of hyperlocal folklore significant, which apparently grants it protected status, allows it to stay on my lawn permanently, prohibits commercial use by any tech bro within a 10-meter radius. Ben called it a soft coup. Gail called it Wednesday. Scroll the inheritance bomb. This is the part where the universe decided to hit plot twist. Unbeknownst to us, our great Aunt Mabel, rest her cranky soul, updated her will 6 months before she passed, R.I.P., you glorious hoarder of jam jars and secrets. She left a handwritten codicil stating, whichever of you respects the family land and doesn't try to turn it into a digital pyramid scheme gets my other property. And the moose. I love the moose. Tell that Ben boy to get bent. Turns out, she had a second cottage. On a lake. With plumbing. It's mine now. Ben tried to contest it. The judge read the line "get bent" aloud in court and dismissed the challenge. Dear the farewell parade. To celebrate the moose's new official status, the town threw a Moose Appreciation Day. There was a parade float of Gail knitting on a giant spinning wheel. Kids in paper antlers yelling, "Decentralize this." The giant cake shaped like Maple Stomp, complete with edible QR code, that linked to the town's tourism site. Not Ben's manifesto, thank God. Ben was last seen boarding a water taxi, muttering something about moving to Newfoundland to rebrand with puffins. No one stopped him. Person in lotus position, and me? I'm good. Really. I have 2 cottages. A moose that's now technically government property. The neighbor who wields yarn like a weapon. And a growing sense that maybe, just maybe, I can breathe again. There's talk of turning this whole saga into a children's book called The Girl, the Moose, and the Crypto Bro. Gail's demanding 30% royalties and final say on the illustrations. Thank you for stepping into another tale with me. Every story unlocks a different world, and I'm glad you were here for the journey. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my stories Unchained, where every ending is just the beginning of another adventure. Until next time, keep your mind open and your heart ready for the next story, Unchained.